Have you ever read a Bible verse that seemed quite easy at first, but then it took on a different meaning when you slowed down and read it in context with the verses around it? That's what happened to me when I was reading First John. In First John chapter 3, verse 22, John says, "Whatever we ask, we receive from him because we keep his commandments and do what pleases him." It's a wonderful Bible verse, but I think it can be easy to read it by itself and come away thinking that if we do everything right, God will give us whatever we ask for, almost like a reward for good behavior, like we get a gold star. But when I went back and read the surrounding verses, it seemed like John was pointing to something a little bit more than that. He started by saying, "Little children, let us not love in word or talk alone, but in deed and in truth." Then he talks about our hearts. He says that even when our hearts condemn us, God is greater than our hearts, and he knows everything. He knows we've got difficulties. I find that encouraging because there are times when I know I have not done my best, and yet God never walked away from me ever. Then John says that when we come to him before God with confidence, whatever we ask, we receive from him. But right after that, he tells us what God's commandment is, that we believe in Jesus Christ and love one another. So I found myself asking, what is it that pleases God? And the answer seems to be right there in that chapter. Faith in Jesus, loving one another, living in his love, that simple. And that got me thinking, God's provision may be much bigger than we often realize. We usually think of provision as God meeting our physical needs, and of course he does. But maybe, just maybe, his provision also includes giving us what we need to become the children he calls us to be. Because if I'm honest, loving people isn't always easy. Sometimes the people who are the hardest for me to love are the ones who have harmed me or others. If you are like me, then you know sometimes Jesus asks something of me and of us that we can't find in ourselves. We're unable to do it in our own strength. And that's where I find this passage so comforting. John isn't describing people who have perfected love. He's describing people who are walking with God, people whose hearts sometimes condemn them, people who need reassurance, people who need grace. And maybe that's part of whatever we ask, we receive from him. When we ask for forgiveness, he provides forgiveness, and he gives us the strength to forgive those we find it almost impossible to forgive. When we ask for help, loving someone we honestly struggle to love, he provides his love working in and through us. And God's provision just isn't about the provision he gives us. It's about his presence with us, shaping us and helping us do what we could never do on our own. I love that John doesn't leave us carrying the weight of this commandment on our shoulders. He reminds us that God abides in us and we abide in him. So when we come to the end of ourselves and realize we can't love as we should, that's not the end of the story. We can ask, and the God who commands us to love, he's also the God who gives us the love we need to give. And that's what I've been thinking about lately. Love isn't something we simply try harder to produce. It's a gift that grows in us as we stay close to the one who is love.